I'm just going to count 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello and welcome to today's webinar about local government's role in workforce development. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mary Waldron. I'm the Executive Director of the Old Colony Planning Council. For those not familiar with OCPC, we're the regional planning agency for most of Plymouth County and a few neighboring towns. We assist our 17 communities in planning for present and future needs, utilizing our local knowledge, technical expertise, and regional collaboration. To learn more, please visit our website, ocpcrpa.org. Before we begin, I'd like to thank OCPC's Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Committee, otherwise known as CEDS, for co-hosting this webinar today. Co-chairs Mary Ellen Brett of Massasoit Community College and John Murray of MassHire Greater Brockton Career Center, that's a mouthful, have been leading the CEDS committee through a collaborative process to strengthen our regional economy. This webinar is part of that work. Today, we're welcoming 3 speakers. We'll hear from Jason Hunter, Director of Operations at MassHire Greater Brockton Workforce Board, about what regional workforce boards do and how cities and towns may work with their local boards to boost quality employment in their communities. With over 15 years of workforce development experience in a nonprofit setting, Jason focuses on facilitating connection between employers, community-based organizations, and higher ed to develop and provide special programming for workforce development services in the Greater Brockton area. We'll also hear from John Murray, Director of MassHire Greater Brockton Career Center. John has over 25 years of experience in the workforce development field, having served as a vocational counselor, program manager, and regional coordinator for adult and dislocated worker programs. He has also coordinated with a variety of state and local economic development agencies to assist employers with their workforce needs. Our third speaker will be Laura Buckley, Deputy Executive Director at South Shore Workforce Board. Laura works with businesses, municipalities, and educational institutions to prepare the workforce of today to meet the demands of tomorrow. She'll talk about the kinds of data that workforce development boards have and how it may be used locally to inform economic development initiatives. Laura holds degrees in economics, politics, and public administration, and currently enrolled at the Harvard School of Government. Previously, she worked in the Mass State Senate and as Associate Dean and faculty at the Plymouth campus of Quincy College. There's a wide variety of expertise and many years of experience between the 3 of them. We'll be taking questions at the end of the 3 presentations. Please submit your questions through the Q&A button at any time. If you prefer to ask a question, please click on the raise hand button when the time comes and we'll call upon you. A recording of this webinar will be available in the next couple days. But before I send this over to Jason, I do want to be able to thank Joanne Zigman, who is coordinating the CEDS committee. Her work behind this is always so extremely well-intentioned in trying to meet the needs. So thank you to Joanne for her work. And then to accompany Joanne is also Dottie Fuginetti, who has been assisting her on many of addressing the needs. Now, with that, I turn it over to you, Jason.
Thank you, Mary. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the webinar, and thank you for giving me a chance to speak. And I am going to give a broad overview of how the workforce boards kind of fit into the system. So I can share my screen. I believe I have a short presentation with some slides that I think will kind of just help give a brief overview. Hold on one second. Can everyone see that?
Yep, perfect.
Everybody. All right. So again, my name is Jason Hunter. I am the Director of Operations at the MassHire Greater Brockton Workforce Board. So I just want to start by kind of showing you something we've put together recently to help with our marketing and communication out to the community. There is a lot of money flowing into the system. So part of our job is to get our name out there. And again, thank you to Mary, Jo, Ann, and Dottie for giving us this platform to really spread the word. So we've decided, oh wait. Is that better? There we go. Sorry about that. So this is some promotional material that we've started to put out into the community. Hopefully those of you that are in our region have had a chance to get a copy of this or have gotten it in the mail. But this is just a little pamphlet we put together to kind of start that process of pushing our information out there. So the MassHire workforce boards get money from the Department of Labor through our state. We get certain allocations as one of 16 MassHire workforce boards in the state. This is just a small, very brief presentations on what people can do with their MassHire workforce boards. You know, any business can connect with the boards for any of these following opportunities. Serve as a private sector member of our workforce board. Anyone in our region that would like to have a say in where workforce development is headed in our region, please contact me. We're always looking for new board members. You can partner on the design of a training program between ourselves and the Career Center. We're always looking at new pathways for our customers that walk through the doors and try to hit our in-demand sectors, which you'll hear about in a little bit. And then again, you can always visit our mass.gov career centers for your immediate hiring needs. Obviously, ours is the MassHire Greater Brockton Workforce Career Center. Workforce Career Center. So you can visit that link, and I know you can't click it, but please visit the website for immediate opportunities. The MassHire Greater Brockton Workforce Board is a business-led policy-setting board that oversees workforce development issues in our 10 community region. MassHire Greater Brockton, along with the mayor, charters MassHire Greater Brockton Career Center, which is housed on the first floor of our building here at 34 School Street. The One-Stop Career Center is operated by the University of Massachusetts Donahue Institute and our Youth Services Program. The Youth Career and Educational Resource Center, which is operated by the board. And I apologize for that typo. Youth Services, it should be Youth Services. We provide oversight and leverage our resources within our community to respond to the current labor needs. MassHire works with employers to bring training resources to the region and to foster collaborations for our regional priorities. We also serve as an ambassador for the Mass Workforce Training Fund. We just held a Workforce Training Fund info session, which puts money back into the community that you're already paying for as a profit business if you play into the unemployment system. Anybody that's looking for training for their staff can contact us here at the board, and I will put you in touch with our our manager of employer services, who hosts these sessions and is also very knowledgeable on how to apply for that funding. An additional focus of this board is to respond to the need for adult basic ed in English for speakers of other languages to put resources into our region. It's one of the biggest needs here in Brockton and the surrounding towns, and we're always looking for people to partner with in new ways to develop strategies to help build capacity in our region as one of our biggest needs to put these people to work in very fulfilling jobs. Under the Career Center banner, we charter our One-Stop Career Center services, which you'll hear a little bit about through John Murray with his presentation. We operate the Career Center under the charter from the UMass Donahue Institute. Right now, a big focus on our planning and our partnering revolves around our work with our WIOA required partners, which includes the Department of Career Services, who is our oversight committee that gives us a lot of our guidance on how to push forward some of these trainings and other funding sources. We have the Mass Department of Transitional Assistance, the Mass Department of Unemployment Assistance, Mass Rehab Commission, the Mass Commission for the Blind, Senior Community Service Employment Services, our Adult and Community Learning Services community, as well as Youth Build and Job Code. So we have had our charter with the UMass Donahue Institute for over 20 years, and it has been very successful, and we look forward to another 20. Right, John?
Yeah, that's right.
So the vision of our charter, and and how we see things moving forward between us and the mayor, the One Stop Career Center. They are the lead service provider, which is all the services you see when you come in under the, if you come in and are looking for services, they provide the day-to-day operation of that center. And we work very collaboratively through a monthly meeting to guide our services in the right direction. The core activities are to establish the one-stop system, to provide services to the adults, dislocated workers, and other partners, to provide training services to adults and dislocated workers also respectively, to establish and develop relationships and networks with large and small employers and intermediaries, and to develop, convene, or implement our industry sector partnerships. Are we taking questions now? If anyone has any, Mary, or are we waiting till the end? Or Joanne?
Let's wait until after every three people, all
Okay.
three speak.
I just didn't know if I was going too fast.
Going just fine.
Thank you, Mary. Again, this is our one-stop partners and the programs they fall under our WIOA guidance. As you can see here, the adult dislocator and worker are our youth Title I. They fall under Department of Career Services. We have a veterans rep who is the Disabled Veterans Operations Program, as well as the leaver, Chris Mills, who is also housed here in Brockton. He is the one state employment rep. So between the two of them, we work very closely to get all of our veterans served. And having the VA here in Brockton, it's very helpful to be able to use some of these partnerships. Title II is our DESE partners, and then the VOC rehab programs, a Mass Rehab Commission, the Mass Commission for the Blind. Also DUA, again, Department of Transitional Assistance, the Seniors Program, and also the community program that is housed with Youth Build and Job Corps. Again, and working with our businesses and developing education and training, we're looking to identify shortages and respond by training, upskilling, certifying, and connecting job seekers to hiring employers. It's always been a big push to create creative trainings. As you can see, we have a picture of one of our staff people, Ray, using our virtual welding machine to teach people welding. And we have a welding training upcoming on November 29th, just a quick plug. So if you have anybody that's interested in welding, please have them contact us here at the board, and we will get them connected to that training. Our data-driven regional blueprint, which I'll also discuss here in a little bit, is available online on our website. And I believe all of the Southeast boards, it's readily available, but it identifies our priority industries: healthcare, finance, information tech, transportation, and manufacturing have always been big for us here in the Southeast region. And we're always looking to partner with our institutes of higher learning and certified training providers to deliver industry recognized certificate programs. We have very close relationships with our local colleges and a variety of vendor programs to help us deliver these trainings. The regional planning was initiated through the Mass Workforce Skills Cabinet back in 2018 and allowed us to create the Southeast Data Package, which is our regional blueprint. And it allows the region to update our contextual regional labor market information, which I hear you'll hear more from Laura in a little while, with a bit deeper of a dive on some of that data. This report guides us in evaluating new demographic labor pool and talent pipeline consideration impacting our workforce skills gap. The package also utilizes new data tools that can be customized by our region. In the collaborative approach by Labor and Workforce Development, Education and Economic Development offers us an opportunity to potential partnerships for developing our workforce. We've always had a very strong relationship with OCPC and all the work that they do through the CEDS committee and a variety of other partnerships. So our Southeastern Mass region is made up of MassHire Greater Brockton, MassHire South Shore Workforce Board, MassHire Bristol, and MassHire Greater New Bedford. So it's been a great partnership. We have just signed our new regional planning blueprint, our MOA, to move forward over the next few years. So we look forward to continuing our relationships with those other workforce boards and pushing our communities forward. With our business and industry, we document and analyze labor market info to support our initiatives specific to our region and industry employment demands. Our Career Center Business Committee meets monthly and discusses anything and everything revolved around industry sectors and how we can push them forward and looking at new opportunities within that group. Brokers across the business services offered through the MassHire Greater Brockton Career Center, free job postings, recruitment, hiring events, employment incentives, and more. We're always looking for new ways to get the Career Center involved with new businesses and really pushing those services to any business that is looking to hire an immediate need. The board also has its own employment manager who is always out and about looking for new ways to partner, looking for new people to bring in and move forward. And again, as I said before, we're ambassadors to the Workforce Training Fund. It really allows Massachusetts businesses to be more productive, profitable, and competitive through this grant. Again, if you're a for-profit business, you're already paying into that fund through unemployment. So please contact us to get you involved in a grant. The MassHire Greater Brockton Board is home to its own youth services, which provides the same service in our adult world to our youth ages 14 to 24. So all the same things you'll see happen downstairs in the Career Center, you'll also see on our lower level to our younger youth 14 to 24. And as much as we can, we like to, the 18 and above crowd, we'd like to get them involved in the adult side of things as well to really bolster our youth. Coming soon, we, as I said, we're always looking to bring our services out. In a partnership with the Brockton Area Transit, they donated a bus, which we have transformed into a mobile classroom type informational vehicle. It is currently being housed over at Southeastern Regional in the mechanical department, going through some last minute fixes. We needed a new starter and a new battery. So hopefully we'll be able to drive workforce development all over the Southeast to promote our services. So just something kind of exciting, and hopefully we'll get that out as soon as we can. Again, this is just a couple ways how to get involved. Please contact us at you can either visit our website or call me directly at the 508-584-3234. We're always looking to get more people involved and how we can, empower our employer services, our vendors, everybody to make this community better and to get people back to work. So please contact me with anything that I can help you with, and I'd be more than happy to assist. That's all I have for now. And I will be available at the end for any questions. Is John up next?
Thank you, Jason. Yes, John, it's over to you now.
I will stop this.
Oh, you're muted, John.
Sorry about that.
Not a problem.
And can you guys see the slides okay?
Yep, it's super. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to talk about a couple of things. As Jason mentioned, the UMass Donahue Institute is chartered by the Workforce Board to operate the Career Center in Brockton. And we provide services really for two sets of customers. We provide services for businesses and job seekers. So although the MassHire system is a large system statewide, it really can be broken down into those two customer bases. And what I wanted to show today was just a couple of bullet points on some of the services that we can provide to businesses that the municipalities may find helpful when dealing with companies in your area. So really our primary focus is on labor exchange. So when we have job seekers that are unemployed, we try to match them with businesses that are hiring. And one thing that's important, I think, to keep in mind is that right now, pretty much anybody that files an unemployment insurance claim in the state of Massachusetts is required to become involved with a career center. So the career centers provide services to many different facets of people with a lot of different skill levels. We see all kinds of people that can help meet the needs of businesses regardless of what industry they're in or what jobs they have available. So we do have a deep talent pool that we work with on a daily basis. And what we can do with businesses to help assist with that is post jobs through our MassHire Job Quest platform. That's the state's job board, for lack of a better term. And when you post with us, it allows all the other career centers also to get access to those jobs, but also statewide. Right now, we're requiring people that are filing for unemployment register on Mass Job Quest. So by posting there for free, the company is really accessing a very deep talent pool, as I had mentioned before. We also offer virtual and in-person job fairs. So the virtual has really become more relevant in the last year. And we utilize a platform called Premier. And that allows a company to set up a job booth, just like they would have at any job fair, where customers can come and there's a chat function. They can also submit resumes. You can take a person off into a private section and have a brief interview if the business is interested. So we've had some success with that over the last year. We do have a veterans job fair coming up this Thursday on the 18th for veterans. So we're utilizing that platform more as we move along. I'm sure there'll be a large statewide job fair after the holidays to kickstart the new year with job searches. The other platform that we use is a job matching system for businesses that post through the career centers. We will help do a search for you. So we'll look at the skills that are required from the company, match them to the customer base that we have. We reach out to the customers, encourage them to apply to your company. So we can do a lot of the legwork for a human resource department that may be stretched thin these days with everything that's going on. So we encourage that companies post with us and let us do some of that legwork for you and make appropriate referrals as we get them. We can target recruitments. Every Tuesday, we have what we call Hot Jobs Live at the Career Center. So a business can sign up to be the primary business that day and meet with customers live, discuss the jobs, the benefits, what skills they're looking for, and get an opportunity to meet with some people in a brief setting. It's usually just an hour or so, but it allows a company to recruit some talent specifically for what their needs are, and gives them sort of the highlight of the recruitment. The virtual and in-person workshops and trainings, we do this obviously for job seekers through resume writing and interview skills. But for businesses, we also do trainings on the state's workforce training fund and safety grants. So we often offer programs for businesses just to become involved with different state and federal programs that I'll talk a little bit more about in a few minutes. One of the opportunities that we do have this year is what we call on-the-job training. And that allows a business to bring somebody on who they maybe weren't too sure about hiring due to some skills that may be lacking. Through the on-the-job training program, we'll contract with the company and we'll reimburse the company half of the job seeker's starting wage while they're being trained. So it gives the person an opportunity at a company that they may not have been able to get into. The company gets the benefit of training them on the skills that they want them to have, and show them the way they want the job done. And all the while, we'll reimburse half of that starting wage for the time that the company is taking to do the training. So it is a good way for a business to get staff trained up the way that they want. And we really encourage companies to take advantage of that opportunity. The other program that I wanted to touch base on is the Mass BizWorks program. And there's state and federal grants that are available through this program. The main thing that I want to get across through this is that this can really help companies wherever they are during the business cycle. So if a company is growing, we offer recruitment assistance, and that's primarily through the Career Center system, but there's also tax credits. And as I mentioned, on-the-job training that companies can take advantage of. If a company is sort of in the business maintenance end of things, there's incumbent worker training through the Workforce Training Fund, which is funded through the Commonwealth Corporation, where businesses can receive grants to train incumbent staff. There's also safety training programs through the Department of Industrial Accidents at the state. And then if during the business cycle, a company is facing a downsizing, work has slowed, there is a program through unemployment insurance called WorkShare, where the company can sign up for that, and they can have staff, job seekers file for unemployment insurance, work maybe a partial week, get a partial unemployment claim, but the company is able to retain the workers on their staff until things pick up again. So that's a good program that many companies took advantage of during COVID. And then if a company is going to be laying off, we have the state's outplacement program called Rapid Response, where the Rapid Response team can come right on site to the company, provide outplacement services, explaining unemployment insurance, helping with resumes. Oftentimes they're able to connect people with open jobs through the Career Center system, and then they refer job seekers over to the Career Centers once people are laid off. So as far as the municipalities are concerned, with so much going on and with companies contacting, the cities and towns all the time, the one thing we want to stress is the MassHire system is here to help you. You don't have to learn all these programs. If you contact us, and you can contact Jason or myself in Brockton, and certainly Laura in the South Shore area, we can put you in touch with, if it's a program we run, we can handle that. If not, we'll make an appropriate referral for whatever the company needs are at this time. So there's our contact information. You can contact myself or Andrea Kingman, who's our manager of business services, Jeff Cahill, who's one of our business services rep. So I think Laura's up next.
She is next. Thank you, John.
Stop share here.
Thank you. That was so interesting, John and Jason. It's always nice to have a refresher as well. I always forget that there's such large capacity here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can you see that okay? The slide deck? Yes.
Yep, if you can just explode them, make them bigger, that'd be awesome. Perfect.
Is that a good? Yes, okay. So I'm going to run through some data, some labor market data. And this data is based on what's most currently available to us. And it takes some time. There's a lag time between when the data is recorded and when it is shared. So the most recent data that I'm using for today's presentation was made available in September. So this is the September release. And if you want something from October, please feel free to email me, and I'll be glad to work with you to get that in a separate presentation at a later date. So I'm going to start with some basic info today, and I can explain as we go and take questions at the end. This right here is a breakdown of the variety of towns throughout the South Shore. And I just chose the South Shore because it's the area in which I'm most familiar, but The yellow band that you see is the average for the South Shore. Our average unemployment rate is 5.2%. Massachusetts is 5.3, so we're very close. We're in zone. Nationwide, we have a national unemployment rate hovering around 4.6%, seasonally adjusted. So ideally, we would love to see Massachusetts and certainly the South Shore drop a little bit, but considering where we were a year ago, this looks good. This is exciting too, because it means that we're stable. We're steadying out a little bit, but there's less ebbs and flows right now. And now I'll share some information with you on what people were earning before they started collecting unemployment. And I'm using this data comparing 3 years, 2019 in blue, 2020 in orange, and 2021, so just a couple months ago in gray. So you can see what a traditional year would look like, a COVID year, and then where we are today. And this is important information for cities and towns and the business community, and certainly those of us that work within economic and workforce development, because this is telling us where people were and where they may expect to go when they re-enter the workforce. There's been obviously a substantial increase in individuals that were earning less than $400 in a weekly wage. So that is very telling. And then it drops down to those that were earning just shy of $2,000, and then peaks just a little bit for those that are earning a salary higher than $2,000 in a weekly wage. That could be for a variety of reasons that I could get into later, but that tells us a story that we need to keep an eye open for as we rethink how to move forward. And this is a breakdown of educational attainment. So what type of level of education did individuals have prior to becoming unemployed? This relates to the previous slide in that it tells us who exactly these people are and what types of skills and abilities might they have as they rethink where they're going to fit into a post-pandemic workforce. So I compare 2019, 2020, 2021, and then I go in to continue what we're looking at as these benefits expired at the end of Labor Day weekend this year, because that was a jumping off point for us here nationwide. As benefits cease to continue. The blue tells us less than the light blue column, which is the farthest to the left, individuals with less than a high school education. The orange, which is consistently the highest bar, are individuals that have a high school diploma or a GED. Gray tells us some college, and then the yellow is a bachelor's degree, and a bright blue to the far right is a master's degree or an advanced degree. So individuals that have reached an educational attainment of just a high school diploma or GED were most substantially impacted. And so we need to think about that. You know, how do we help those people either continue their education, or how do we change job descriptions to attract people back into the workforce in a way that's encompassing, rather than saying, you know, associate's degree preferred or something to that effect. So we need to really use this data to our advantage. And this is a breakdown of ethnicity as reported. So I have to be clear that this is only as reported, and reporting is not necessarily mandated. So please take this slide with a grain of salt. And this compares 3 years, 19, 20, and 21. So in 2019, 4% of claimants identified as Hispanic or Latino, whereas we have 6% this year. So certain minority populations have been more impacted in this sea change within the workforce. And we have to think about that from their perspective. Do we have enough services for foreign language speakers? Are we embracing that in a way that allows us to fully utilize capabilities at every level? And I love this. This slide is very encouraging for those of us that are working in the public sector and policy development, but the number of UI claimants in 2019 was considered quite low, about 34, just under 4,000 people here on the South Shore. And that skyrocketed. So we went through ebbs and flows, and then about a year later, in September of 2020, we had just shy of 30,000, which, believe it or not, a year ago, that was great. We were thrilled that we were down to 30,000. And then we saw a dramatic change from initial claimants right after benefits ceased on September 5th of this past September a year ago. Okay, so let's do a breakdown of age, because this question comes up a lot as communities think about the demographic within those community boundaries. Who lives there? Who's leaving? Who's coming? Is a community attractive to young families, working professionals? Is it attractive to those in retirement? And are those people employed? Is that a consideration for commuting, as we consider commuting distances and how that's changed? So this tells us who has been impacted and unemployed by age. Blue is 2019, orange 2020, and then gray is our current year, September 2021. And you can see the change over time. Individuals that are between the age bracket of 25 to 34, as well as individuals between the age 55 to 64, they have seen a higher peak in claims in 2021. So you have to think about what that means for them in the workforce. And of course, there were less people in the workforce over the age of 65. So that's why this looks a little skewed here at the end. By gender, we've all heard this. This is not new information to us, but individuals that identify as female have seen a substantially higher rate of unemployment in this pandemic than in past recessions. And this is broken down. I'll share this slideshow so you can take a fine-tooth comb and go through it, but this is broken down also by PUA data and PUEC. So you can see the gig workers who typically in a traditional recession would never have been eligible to receive benefits were made eligible. There was a policy change that allowed them to receive unemployment insurance benefits. So that's consistent weekly income that was not previously available to the gig economy. So once they were able to receive that, we got a better idea of who would qualify as a gig worker. Believe it or not, there was a Southeastern Massachusetts analysis. The South Shore had the highest number of gig workers, nearly 30,000. So I love to share good news. This is a breakdown of January 2020, so just before the pandemic started, to last month. And you can see that it went from serving very little to nearly 55,000 individuals receiving unemployment benefits that we're not sure what the future of the workforce looked like. The sectors that were hit the hardest are obvious. We've all heard them. It's accommodations, food services. And at that point, there was cyclical, of course, because we know the construction unemployment peaks during the winter, but there was a real ebb and flow at the time. There were certain sectors, surprisingly, that were not as impacted. For example, manufacturing, they were able to hold strong. So this is a breakdown comparing 3 years. Blue is 2019, orange 2020, and gray 2021. Of UI claimants' industry of employment before they became unemployed, comparing the years and where they worked. So we need to, as policymakers and people that work within this arena, figure out how do we use transferable skills to get people from where they were to where they need to be. Because the occupations that currently exist are not necessarily the occupations that people had left. So how do we find them a good fit? And how do we make sure that they're able to use their knowledge, their skills, and their abilities in a meaningful way now? So there's a big bucket of resumes from people that have worked within accommodations and food services. I'd love to be able to find a way that we can work on that locally in a regional way, in a capacity that allows us to really embrace the great communication skills and the customer service skills that that industry is known for. How do we put that to work in other industries? I think there's opportunity there. If we come together, hopefully we'll be able to solve that and the other problems of the world. So this is a breakdown of occupations that are currently available. So I'm transitioning now in my presentation from who into what. These are occupations by number within the South Shore region that have a higher number of available postings. Please take this with a grain of salt because this data is aggregated, and I'll get to this at the end, based on the number of job postings available. So let's take a hospital, for example. If a hospital had currently 60 vacancies for RNs and they post the job twice, thinking they're going to collect resumes based on that one posting, that will aggregate here as 2 job postings. I don't have a remedy for that, but I just have to give a little disclaimer. This is accurate, but not perfect. And there's no real surprises here. This has been fairly consistent for the past 6 months. Laborers, retail for September would be making a slight increase because of the changes in the holiday employment cycle. RNs, customer service, sales rep, managers, it's pretty consistent. And this is a breakdown of where within the South Shore we'll find these positions. Typically, urban or high density communities will have more employment opportunities. So Quincy, Braintree, Weymouth, Plymouth, Hingham. Communities that have industrial parks will usually have a higher percentage of occupational vacancy. And this is a breakdown of industries where we currently have a tremendous amount of opportunity for people to transition into healthcare and social assistance, which includes early education. Retail, finance, and insurance, that's a sector that we really should explore more throughout the Southeast region. Accommodation and food services, believe it or not, has made it back. They've had a little bounce back, which has been good. This summer was healthy for that industry. They've really been creative and thinking outside the box to develop solutions to make the business model work. Manufacturing, information, et cetera, construction. And these are the brand names of the companies that are hiring and the number of positions that they currently have available. Amazon, South Shore Health, State Street, Clean Harbors, Hudson, Blue Cross, FedEx, South Shore Mental Health. And like I mentioned earlier, the number that you see here may not be painting a full picture or an accurate story of the current. If anything, it could be more. And this is, we're getting into a group of slides that I think is really meaningful because the skills that employers are asking for in their job postings, they're not specific to the technical expertise required within certain industries and sectors. So if an individual have been working in an industry that it may not bounce back, they can take those transferable skills, do a crosswalk into something else. So the continuing list of requested skills. And this is from about 92,000 available job posting websites. And this gets into the technical skills and skill clusters to make it a more digestible version. But customer and client support, basic customer service does not go out of style. And that's something that's applicable to every single sector. So that's a skill we need to make sure we encourage at a micro and a macro level and at every age. So skip over that one. I'm running way over time. I apologize. And this is just a comparison of the unemployment rates over time over about a 1-year period that I thought was interesting. You know, we started a little bit lower and now we're right in line with the nation in the state. So we're just where we should be here in the South Shore. But this slide, labor force participation rate. Okay, so this one concerns me just a little. We have some work to do. Here in Massachusetts, this is a statewide and nationwide comparison. Our labor force participation rate compared to that of the nation, there's a little gap there. We can work on that. And that's all I've got. So I'd be glad to take any questions at the Q&A, but before I do, I should mention that this data comes from a few sources that many of you will be familiar with already. And I could share that, if that would be helpful, where to find it, but mass.gov/LMI. That's a really useful tool. Play with it a little bit and see what's available. Most of this data is easy to access and digest and calibrate even at the community level. The other source is the US Census, and they have a Census Academy. I can show you how to access that if that would be helpful. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Both of those websites can be a little bit cumbersome and tedious to use, but they offer a virtual academy. It's just short little videos that teach you how to get to the data that you want. That data is so useful for really any occupation within this workforce and economic development world, because something like commuting, that data is changing rapidly as people commute in a hybrid schedule or stop commuting. Comparing that data, or do more people commute into a certain community, or do more people commute out of that community? That tells us a story that we need to keep track of over time. Even something as simple as a municipal tax base. What does that mean? Are people leaving? Is industry growing there? And then the next source I use is called ONET. ONET, if you just Google ONET, it'll come up. And I like ONET as it breaks down salary and wage data. That's useful for people. And I think that's pretty much it for where I collect my data. I typically only trust a few public sources, but there are some local Boston economists that are doing some interesting things, some interesting studies, and I do follow them. I'd be glad to share that. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I can give you a list of people whose articles and podcasts have some good and ready intel that helps us predict. But the bottom line is we are in a world now where we make decisions based on available data. So data-driven decision-making is the wave of the future, and using multiple sources of data to make sure that we're on the right track and everything is more or less consistent. And I'd be glad to share any of those resources in the chat box. I see that there's some requests there. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Laura, Jason, and John. So I'm going to MC a few questions from the chat box right now. For folks on the webinar, thank you for joining us. If you do have questions, please put them into the chat, the Q&A, or you can also raise your hand and I will enable you to speak. So the first question we got is probably for you, John. Does or will MassHire have Career Center network focused on people with disabilities, so those enrolled in SSI or SSDI?
Yeah, so we work, we do have programs where we work with that customer base, and we partner with Department of Mental Health, and who else, Jason, do we have that? Mass Rehab.
Mass Rehab Commission would be the biggest one. And the Career Center and the youth side both have setups for people with certain disabilities. So we have, during our partner meetings, a lot of times things will come up to make sure that not all our staff have been, trained up to meet those standards and to work with customers that have a certain disability. And John can tell you a little bit more about the technology aspect behind it that they've asked us to provide in our centers to make sure we can work with people with disabilities.
Yeah, so the centers are all ADA compliant with the required apparatus that we have at the Career Center. So certainly, please refer any customers over to the Career Centers.
Great, thank you. The other question we have about specific skills. So all municipalities are having struggles finding municipal water operators, qualified licensed treatment and distribution staff. Are there any programs out there to train and license interested or potential candidates?
I'm not aware of any specific programs for that particular occupation, but it's certainly something we could look into. I don't know if you know of anything, John. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, I don't know of anything. I think what we'd want to do is find out what the licensing requirements are from the state.
Hmm.
And then we could maybe, set up a program working with a specific municipality. So the way we contract for job seekers for training is typically on an individual training account basis. So if somebody came in and was interested in obtaining a license, whether it's a CDL driver's license or hoisting or anything like that, we would typically contract per individual with a training vendor for that training. So I'm not sure what the requirements are through the state for the water treatment. I know oftentimes there's hours on the job required before somebody can sit for a test or something like that. So we'd have to learn more from the municipality on what the needs are.
So would the next step with that, John and Jason, be that the municipality should reach out to their workforce board to have a further conversation on that?
Yeah, I would suggest
Yeah.
they do that. Yes.
Great. Great. Okay.
Great
Thank you.
idea.
Laura, here's one for you and anybody else. So it
Labor,
says,
paywall.
yeah, paywall. So are there
Yeah.
any paywall data sources that you'd consider worth paying for?
Well, yes, and no. Yes, there are. There's a recent collaboration between the two main private ones that we use here. One is called MCEMSI, and the other is called Burning Glass, also known as Labor Insight. They have now merged, and they've really made a great machine. Their algorithm is on point. I think it's industry standard, but the state helps provide that to your local workforce boards. And if you need data, I would recommend contacting your workforce board. And we or Brockton or wherever it is could help get you that data because we have access to that software program, courtesy of the Commonwealth. So if you are thinking that you'd like to own it, I can't tell you a price range. I'm really not sure, but I do find it to be worthwhile. And I have actually worked backwards from their data just to check and verify, and it is 100% accurate. I have no qualms about it.
Okay, thank you. That seems, I think, to be all the questions that we have.
There's one more, Joanne, that came in. Missed it, sorry. That was it, sorry. You see the last one from Curtis Wyman follow-up?
Oh, yes, I do see it. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So the question is, how much of the paywall data can you actually share?
Not sure I understand the question. If it's available in Burning Glass, Labor Insight, there's no reason we can't share that. If it's not confidential or proprietary information, it's available for the public, paid for with taxpayer dollars. I mean, I've never received a labor market data request that I haven't been able to fulfill for privacy reasons. That I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think it does. Great.
Joanne, I'd like to just add one thing that I learned this year with grant applications. All the grants that are out now are really encouraging job growth and economic development. And for sure on the federal EDA grants, you have to demonstrate that there's a need. So you need this kind of information about the unemployment rates, the kinds of jobs, things like that. We also found it successful on an EDA grant to work with, so an EDA grant is to create jobs. And by doing that, you have to say that there's such and such a business says that if this infrastructure project happens, we're going to be able to create X many of this kind of jobs. And by working with those sponsors, if you will, and saying when it's time to create those jobs and recruit and train the people for those jobs, will you work with MassHire? And we put that in the application that those businesses will work with MassHire to create and do job training and retention. And that was really successful. And that was a tip that we got from our EDA representative. But even on the local grants, if you're applying for state grants, I think it makes the application more competitive and more compelling if you put in some of that data and say, you know, why your area should be getting the funding and what are you going to do with it and how will it help those numbers. So the information A lot of it is very easy to find, but if you're having a tough time or you want help with it, certainly reach out to your regional planning agencies and we can help with that. And the Workforce Investment Boards, it's a really great partnership.
Thanks, Dottie. And I think that's a really good point too. The regional planning agencies have huge amounts of information ranging from traffic count data at intersections that might help inform local business development, all the way through to some of the data that Laura's talked about. So for sure, reach out to the regional planning agencies, to MassHire and your workforce boards for that information. So I don't see any other questions. I don't think anything else has come through. No hands are raised. So I think we'll wrap up. Thank you, Jason, John, and Laura for your presentations today. I think that was really helpful for people to have an understanding of what workforce boards do. It's one of those things that the name doesn't really say exactly what's inside the can. So it was great to hear all of that unpacked. For folks on the webinar today, yes, the recording will be available probably tomorrow on our website and Old Colony Planning Council's YouTube channel. Attendees and also those who registered who weren't able to participate will receive a notification of that via email. After you jump off the webinar, you will be redirected, hopefully if everything works to plan, to a survey. If you could take literally just 1 or 2 minutes to fill that out, that's really helpful for us to understand how to make these webinars most relevant and useful to you. If you have any further questions, John, Jason, and Laura, I'm sure would be happy to talk to you more. You can always reach out to us at Old Colony Planning Council and we can share that contact information with you as well. So with that, have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us.